Good afternoon, all. This is a combined effort between myself and Scott. I did the first draft and Scott basically chucked it in the bin and redrafted it, so it is very much a combined effort. I'm going to really talk about two things. Firstly, feral cat management in the mining approval process, but a lot of what I talk about is relevant to other land approval processes where you're clearing vegetation, for example, for residential or industrial development. And there are three stages that I'm going to talk about: the EIA, the assessment process to start off with. Once it's approved, then it's operational, and then all mines have a life, and at the end of that life, there is a requirement to have a closure plan. Some mines are put in care and maintenance, and there are cat-related issues there. And then I'm going to suggest to you that this is just a very small part of a bigger issue, and I'm going to give you a suggestion as to how we might go forward. Just very briefly, the literature indicates there's about 2.7 cats per square kilometre, and you're also in the literature about how many animals, frogs, mammals, reptiles and birds, a particular cat can actually take out. And if you did the mean of mining tenement size in Western Australia, excluding exploration areas, it's about 5 square kilometres. So essentially you have one cat per mining tenement in Western Australia, each one taking out a good number of frogs, mammals, reptiles and birds. That's probably an inflated number because most of the mine tenements in Western Australia anyway are in areas where I think the density of cats is much lower than the average. But the net result is cats on mining tenements are having a significant impact each year on our native fauna. Whoop, what did I do wrong? Whoop, how do I go back? Whoop, whoop. I think I've got it.
You got it? So you can just use those. Or just
Yeah, that's what I did and it didn't work. Okay. Just briefly talk about the pre-approval process, which is the impact assessment. And from the fauna perspective, we are required to do a survey so that we can give the regulators sufficient information about if this mine proceeds and you clear the vegetation and you establish a mine, what are the impacts? Most of the tools we use to survey are poor in recording cats in areas. The traps that we use primarily don't catch cats, and as you all know, medium-sized mammals walking through the detection zone of a camera trap miss a very large number of middle-sized mammals. Cats are a significant threatening process anywhere and should be addressed in the EIA process, and very often aren't. Very often in the pre-assessment which leads to an approval, cats are either ignored or there is not a lot of consideration to the impact cats might be going to have in a mining facility, and many of the fauna management plans that are written for mining operations don't actually deal with the feral predators, cats, foxes and anything else. In mining, once the mine gets up and running, our experience is the number of cats increase primarily because of poor waste management practices. You can just simply see the list there. That's from the grey literature. Most of them are ours, but the number of cats caught on mine sites is high, and our data indicates that many of those cats are feeding on pubescible waste. Better mine management of waste would make a difference. And during the mining operations, few of the mine sites in Western Australia actually actively manage the cats, and some of the sites don't manage cats because they think they are good at reducing the number of rats and mice on their site, sadly. During mine closure, and if you're going to develop a new mine in Western Australia, you're required to produce a mine closure plan. Cats are largely forgotten. So we have an active mine that increases the number of cats, and then at some stage in the future, you have an increased number of cats and we close the mine. What happens to all of those cats that we have in that area that we haven't in the past been effectively managing? Well, they start eating the native fauna. So there's a case for doing a little more there. So, okay. During mine closure, the issue of cats and increased cats isn't dealt with, and there is a number of things that can be done, and Tanea Duncan tomorrow will talk about but one of those where you use a pellet and you put it out in a highly disturbed area which gives habitat for native fauna and excludes the cats from that area. Okay, so cats really aren't adequately looked at in mine sites. Going forward, we need to look at cats in the EIA process, in the operational of the mine process, in mine closure, and in compliance, which is the regulators. And one of the things they might look at is how well we manage pubescible waste. As I alluded to start off with, cat management in mining needs to be addressed in a much broader context. So what might that look at? I'm suggesting that the appointment of a senior government manager that facilitates operational feral cat management and across mining, government and community would be useful. And that senior person needs to be able to work across a good number of government agencies, thus the need for someone senior. I think because of the issues, that person needs to be bold, courageous, focused, committed, and have a collaborative approach to things. Some of the agencies that person might wish to work across are listed on the left-hand side, but that they shouldn't ignore the link between what happens in government and what is happening in the community. One of the things I think the government can do a lot more of is community engagement. I was fortunate enough to be in New Zealand just before Christmas, and I looked at Predator-Free 2050 and the extent to which the New Zealand government and government agencies engage community in feral pest management. And I think it's something that we can do a whole lot more of here. And some of the things that manager might want to look at: higher community engagement, changing the Cat Act, setting up good monitoring procedures for when we get better at cat control. We need some better and more effective strategies for euthanasia, and they might like to look at how we are dealing with animal ethics. Thank you very much.
Thank you.